Welcome to the latest edition of Cageside Speaks. My name is 14 Fitzpatrick, and boy, it's been a while since we've done one of these, folks. Sorry for the delays about getting these shows up at this point, but we have been going through a bit of a rebuilding phase on Cageside Speaks as of late. But we are here now to talk about the next show, because last one we did was Survivor Series. This one is the Royal Rumble, one of the big four pay-per-views, emanating from the peaceful, calm, loving, cheerful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I am certain that there are not going to be any riots whatsoever in the next couple of days in case the Eagles lose the Super Bowl. We are joined today with a couple of guests today. We have let's see here, we have three returning guests and one new speaker to do the edition of Cageside Speaks. The one person that's returning at this point, Kyle Decker, is having some technical issues at this point, so he said start it without him, but we'll see if we can get him in the hangout as soon as we can. Anyway, starting things off in returning category is Canaanite.
Greetings. I am the number one entry in the Cageside Speaks Rumble 2018 edition.
He also represents the New York Giants and is currently burning a large amount of Ben McAdoo plushies to purge whatever evil was dictating that team last season.
Quite so, yes.
Returning with the team with the perfect season in the NFL overall, Haruki.
Fun fact, I actually bought NFL Sunday ticket for the last 2 months so that I could be in a Discord chat with my friends and watch the Browns go 0-16. It was fun. Great to be back.
But they did go, what was it, 4-0 in the preseason?
Yeah. Silver lining, I suppose.
Really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why I consider it a winning season. I mean, they had a parade at the end of the year, so that counts.
Yeah, hey, not too many teams had a parade.
Oh, jeez.
And finally, representing, well, I guess the Wyoming college football team would be the representative in this case. It would be Ambrose Alley making her debut.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Because I think the closest NFL teams you have are like really far away.
The closest would be the Broncos.
Okay, the Broncos. That's right. I forgot the Broncos. The Broncos and their ever-continuing carousel at quarterback. And, of course, I'm representing, because I live in Western New York, the Buffalo Bills. We actually made the playoffs this year after not being in since 1999. But we just lost our offensive coordinator, and our center retired due to a neck injury. So there's that. Still typical Buffalo Bills. One step forward, 5 steps careening back into a wall.
You just have to get some guys with the killer instinct like Mojo Rawley, and then you'll be back in the playoffs next year.
And we'll be talking about Mojo Rawley here because, let's see here. We start things off with, who here watched the pre-show?
I watched some of the matches, yeah.
I watched the pre-show, the whole 2 hours.
Okay, so we'll start things off with what I am calling the Sacrificing All Evil from the Cruiserweight Division match. The 6-man tag, Kalisto, Grand Metalik, Lince Dorado versus TJP, Gentleman Jack Gallagher, and Drew Gulak. Yes. Before the match, they sacrificed the bones of Enzo Amore to purge all evil from the Cruiserweight Division, as Enzo Amore has been recently released. Hopefully they can find a new champion that isn't going to get injured, released, or sent down a black hole. Hello, Neville. So we'll start things off with Haruki. What were your thoughts on this match?
Well, I just want to say, as a whole, typically you have a lot of like filler nonsense with the pre-show, but I actually thought that this was a pretty entertaining 2 hours of stuff. The Social Media Lounge with Owens and Zayn, I thought was a ton of fun, and I thought that this was like it was a fun 6-man tag match. It was a good way to get things started. I still feel bad for these guys when they have to go out in front of like, a 10% filled crowd just because it's so early on and have to perform. But, this match had a lot of fun spots. I thought the little comedy between Gallagher and Gulak was really good when he came with the splash off the middle rope, trying to get him down. The triple moonsault I thought was a really fun spot. Just all in all, it was a fun match, good starter.
Okay, Kane, what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, Hiroki pretty much I would just echo all his talking points because I was going to bring up Gallagher and Gulak as well. I thought it was really funny when Gallagher is like doing the walking on the ropes, and Gulak is trying to talk him down, and then he ends up missing the move, and Gallagher turns around and he's like, you were right, and that he shouldn't have tried the move from the rope. So I thought that was pretty funny. I thought this was a pretty good match. I think a couple years ago at WrestleMania, Kalisto and Ryback were in that 5:30 or in that hour and a half ahead of the main show spot where no one's in the building, and like Kalisto, and he was there this time too. And Kalisto comes out and he does his lucha thing with it, and it's like no one's in the building. I feel bad for the guy, but it was I thought it was the best match of the 3 pre-show matches. I liked it.
Okay, coolness. AA, what were your thoughts on the on this opening match?
Well, on this opening match, I really enjoyed it a lot. I'm not much in watching the cruiserweights, especially when you get into all the different 6-man and tag teams that they do. But I enjoyed it a lot. It was entertaining. I actually had my attention kept on the ring. So all in all, for me, it was an A+.
Okay, coolness. Yeah, I did not watch the pre-show, unfortunately, but but from what I heard about this match, it was really good. I did hear about the comedy spot with Gulak and Gallagher, where Gulak tries to get up onto the top rope because apparently he's been bit by the political campaign bug and has decided to do a no-fly zone gimmick thing. Kind of didn't work for him there. Next up is, in the returning category, we have The Revival, Dash Ryder and Scott Dawson versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. So, yeah, this was a tag team match that happened. Kane, what was your thoughts on that?
It was a tag team match that happened. It was a lot of the match was spent with the Revival pretty much working over Carl Anderson's leg, I think, and it was just kind of a basic match. I mean, it was good. Like the Revival are really good at what they do, and for where this match was on the card in the pre-show, this is about. I mean, you're not going to get much better than this. I don't think. Like, it wasn't like a great match or anything, but it was like an 8-minute match. For an 8-minute match, it was fine, and I'm glad the Revival won because I thought after they lost on that DX thing on Raw 25, I figured they're just going to lose again. I wasn't expecting 50-50. But maybe the Revival will be getting a push here leading up to leading up to Mania. Now that a whole bunch of players are injured, so we'll see what happens. It was decent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Haruki, what were your thoughts on this match?
Pretty much the same thing. I think after they you had kind of them coming out of Raw 25 looking pretty bad. It's good to see them get the win back. But aside from that, as was said, this is just pretty much your standard WWE tag.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what are your thoughts on this match?
My thoughts is it was a typical standard match. I mean, I'm a bigger fan of Luke Gallows than I am Carl Anderson, but for what it was fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see here. Our last match is Bobby Roode versus the Diabolical Mojo Rawley. Okay, what were your thoughts on this match?
I really enjoy this match. I think Mojo put his whole heart into it. And I enjoyed it. It was a good match, entertaining. Shame it was on a pre-show. I think it should have moved up to the main card.
Mm-hmm.
I think all titles should be on the main card, not in a pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
And all in all, I enjoyed it very muchly.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even a word. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it a lot.
Coolness. Kane, what are your thoughts on this match?
As soon as you say all titles should be on the main card, I'm thinking of the Cruiserweight tournament that's coming up, and I'm like, that championship match is not going to be on the WrestleMania main card. We'll see. But anyway, on this one, I wasn't really into this match too much, and the ending seemed a little botched. I don't know, Rawley. I don't know. I guess I was hoping for someone a little different as the opponent, rather because I saw Rawley and Roode fight a couple weeks ago on SmackDown. It was okay. It was just fine, but this was not. I didn't think this was like a great showcase for either guy. I like Rawley does a lot of like his trash talking and like smacking the guy's head around when he's talking his trash and stuff. And I think Rawley has decent potential to go pretty far, but obviously they're not giving him the big push quite yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Haruki, what were your thoughts on this U.S. Championship match?
I actually quite like it as well. I think that Mojo's really made great strides, and I think that in general, one of the things I've kind of seen more over the recent years of Raw is that, and SmackDown, is that WWE's having a lot of success with this homegrown talent that kind of came in, was really green. You know, when Raleigh first showed up at NXT, and he was very new to the whole pro wrestling thing. You know, I don't think that many people saw us being able to grow into what he is now, and even what he could be in the future. So yeah, I thought that this is a solid little match. The Bobby Roode title run has been a little bit muted to me so far, starting with when they impromptu just kind of put the title on him on that SmackDown show. But in general, I thought this was a nice little match.
Okay, so we start off with the main card then, and we start with the Phenomenal Hobo, AJ Styles, versus the Diabolical Canadians, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, in a 2-on-1 handicap match for the WWE Championship. Now, if Owens and Zayn won this match, they would be co-champions. That obviously didn't happen. AJ Styles beat them in 15 minutes, 55 seconds, it says on the Wikipedia timer. And so let's see here. Kane, we'll start off with you. What was your thoughts on this match?
My expectations were pretty low, actually, even though I like all these guys, but the story's been kind of crummy. And but I really liked the match. I thought they did the 2-on-1 dynamic pretty well, the constant tagging in and out by Zayn and Owens. But then Owens did his cannonball and hurt his leg, which tied back into his injury from SmackDown the week before. And AJ Styles had some crazy awesome spot where he kind of got monkey flipped and turned it into like a head scissors takeover into the calf crusher, and that was a good T spot for a finish. And I thought it was pretty good stuff for the most part. I like this one.
Coolness. AA, what were your thoughts on this match?
This was a fun match. I'm a big Styles fan. I'm a big Sami Zayn fan too. I know I'll probably get a lot of heat on that one, but it was entertaining. I loved it. I was so glad that Shane and Daniel Bryan did not come out to interfere in it in any way, that they just let it go. So the story was a little bit off. It was still fun to watch, and I was entertained. I enjoyed it. Even the dusty finish I enjoyed.
Okay, Haruki, what were your thoughts on this match?
So I actually kind of love this whole show, but the first two matches I think I'm a little bit more critical on. I thought it was good overall, but the ending just kind of made me feel like it kind of fell flat per se. Like I thought that the match was going on just fine, but then I thought they ended it a little too abruptly. I felt like, despite the fact that it was 2-on-1, that Styles never really felt like he was in that much danger. I feel like the closest near fall was like the Blue Thunder Bomb one. So I just never really felt like, despite the fact that it was 2-on-1, that he was in too much of danger. And I feel like, yes, you could say that, Styles came with a great game plan, that he was never going to let the match get too out of hand per se. But I also feel like Owens and Zayn didn't come out of this looking too great, and looking forward into the match that they're having next week and who will face him one-on-one. I don't really feel like either one is a serious, credible challenger to his title right now. So aside from the fact that I feel like Zayn and Owens look a little lousy coming out of this, I thought this was good.
The thing I got from this particular angle is that it feels as though that what they're going to do at this point is that Sami is going to betray Kevin and is going to destroy Kevin in this situation. And because he's starting to get more verbally abrasive towards Owens at this point. And it feels as though that the dynamic of the face and heel when it comes to these two is shifting. Owens was predominantly the heel. Zayn has been predominantly a face until this recent heel turn. And now it seems as though that the pendulum is shifting over to Owens becoming a babyface on SmackDown and Sami Zayn becoming a diabolical heel even more so than he already is on SmackDown. It's been one of the most interesting stories that I've seen thus far, even though that we've had to deal with the interferences of Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. That mainly is mostly due to them wanting to do something with Daniel Bryan before his contract potentially expires. As far as the match itself goes, it was a solid match. AJ Styles, once again, is still a very solid wrestler, and one of my mom's favorites when he jumps up onto the top rope and does anything on the top rope. And then we had Zayn and Owens doing wonderful, innovative tag team offense, as well as some really great comedy in the early goings of the match. Their overconfidence got the better of them, though, and AJ pinned Owens. Which that turned out, that was a very good opening start to the Royal Rumble. I thought overall. So, guys, do you think that Zayn is going to be turning on Owens, though? We'll start with Haruki.
It does. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh yeah. So I think it does seem just a little too obvious per se that Owens would turn again on Zayn, especially after the Festival of Friendship thing. And although it would be an interesting gimmick, he's just always the one that keeps turning on his partners, but they just keep coming back to it anyway. But yeah, it just does seem like a little too straightforward to say, Owens is going to turn on them again. And I do think it would be an interesting dynamic to finally give Owens the kind of the babyface run. He's so good at working the social media, and he seems beloved by a lot of the smart fans. See if he can draw in more of the casuals too to work as just a common WWE babyface. So I don't know. It's definitely an interesting question.
Yeah. AA?
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be Sammy who's going to turn on Owens. It just has to be. It's because they'll bring it full circle from time in NXT. It'll just come full circle. And then we got story continuity.
I mean, because let's face it, where did Kevin Owens learn these tendencies from? The so-called likable babyface. Make for an interesting dynamic. Kane, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm trying to think about WrestleMania and who Kevin Owens and Zayn, are they going to be fighting each other, or I feel like Shane McMahon now is a WrestleMania staple. So even though it sounds ridiculous, but so it's I still think Shane might be in the mix with them, and then maybe they'll break up for good after that. I don't know, but I think it does make sense whenever they do break up that they go the other way with it, and that Zayn stays heel and Owens turns, because it would just be kind of the same old, and it wouldn't be as good as Owens break up with Jericho. I don't think it's really hard to match that Festival of Friendship. So I think they're going to break up, but maybe it'll happen after WrestleMania though.
Okay, so next up on the list was a very bizarre tag match in the form of the Usos, Jimmy and Jay Uso, versus Chad Gabe and Shelton Benjamin. Now, Chad Gabe and Shelton Benjamin confronted the Raw Tag Team Champions, Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, on the pre-show, and basically we're going to say, oh, well, we're gonna win championships. Ironically enough, both teams will come out of the Royal Rumble not as champions. So we'll start things off with Kane. What were your thoughts on this match?
This match I was disappointed. I mean, it was a good match, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. My expectations are pretty high. When you tell me 2 out of 3 falls in the Usos and Gable and Benjamin, I'm expecting a great match. And the first fall was really good, but there wasn't much after that. And so the problem is that they did a ton of near falls and all this stuff in the first fall, but it's not as urgent in the first fall because you don't lose the match if you lose the fall. So it was still a really good fall, but just to have the second fall go quick on a roll up, I don't know. It was a pretty big letdown, I think, the ending to this match. So overall, it was a good match, but it was not as good as it should have been.
Okay, Haruki, what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I agree. It's echoing a lot of the same sentiments and echoing a lot of the same stuff that I said for the first match too, where it was good, but then it just kind of abruptly ended. I think 2 out of 3 falls matches, it's the one time I've seen them only do 2 falls, and I thought it was really good. It was when it was Leo Kruger, Sami Zayn from way back when in NXT. I thought that to blow off the feud there and to just have Sami win in 2 falls was really, really good. And they did a lot of the same things there where they kind of milked the first fall and they kind of let things roll. But generally, I do just like to see them not overthink it with 2 out of 3 falls. Just let it go, the full 3 falls. I love the first one. If you want to do the second one quick, sure, and then just let it, it build to the hot finish. And I remember when the Usos faced, I think it was the Wyatt family a couple years back in a 2 out of 3 falls match. That was awesome. And that whole third fall that they had was just white hot. Especially when it comes to, even especially just saying the Usos in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I just like to see them build up and just have them have that third fall to have just like this really hot finish.
Okay, hey, what were your thoughts on this match?
They pretty much echo Kane, and it was a decent match, but I was left wanting more. I was left wanting, and I don't like it in my matches to be left wanting.
Yeah, same here. I mean, that was just such a weird, it was such a weirdly structured match because when we started things off, like, when's the first fall? Usually the first falls very quickly in these kind of 2 out of 3 falls matches, but it didn't come until like about the midway point of the match. Then there was an uncharacteristically sloppy performance from Chad Gate, which was weird. I was like, what is going on with this guy? Because he's usually on point. He's usually the fire for this team, but in this particular instance, it was Shelton Benjamin that was doing a really good job, keeping the pace of the match even, and the Usos doing the best they could to make the best of what was a very weird match stipulation. Usos still were just as good as they've always been, but it just felt weird. Weirdly paced, weird finishing stretch at the end. But they also went at it with, let's see, the time on this match was 13:55 per the wiki. But they may have had a little bit of time pressure because the Rumble was coming up next. Which, speaking of, we had a 30-man, the men's Royal Rumble, went first. And that match was 1 hour, 5 minutes, 27 seconds, unofficially. And it was Shinsuke Nakamura winning the Rumble, which seemed to be a bit of a surprise candidate, last eliminating Philadelphia's most beloved son, Roman Reigns. I am going to be hit with so many snowballs and car batteries if I ever take a trip to Philadelphia. So, AA, start us off on this one. What were your thoughts on the men's Royal Rumble?
I enjoyed it. This was probably one of the most enjoyable Royal Rumbles I've ever seen. It had some good comedy spots. It had some good down to business, serious spots. The ending was wonderful. I really loved when Reigns ended up eliminating Rollins, and they had that look. It was friends just more or less saying, well, that's the rules. No friends in this match. It was just great all around. It was fun. And it kept the pace going. It didn't lag and drag like last year's. Last year's had some areas where it just dragged. And you're saying, come on, someone, do something. This year, they kept a nice, decent pace going.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. They only had a few surprise people, which was Adam Cole, Andrade Cien Almas, technically free agent John Cena, the Hurricane, and Rey Mysterio, making Aztec sacrifices to get a new pair of knees. So, Kane, what were your thoughts on the men's Royal Rumble?
Really good match. I mean, it starts off with Rusev, with Aiden English, introducing Rusev, which is always a good start to a match, and the fans are super into Rusev. And when he got eliminated, maybe halfway through the match or so, the crowd's so disappointed. But I really like the Rusev Day stuff. And then I thought Elias could have done more with his time. As soon as they empty the ring out, Baron Corbin attacks everyone after he's eliminated, but they're outside the ring. They're not eliminated. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, who are they emptying the ring for? Like, who's going to come out now? And I should have known it would be Elias, but I couldn't think of like who's going to come in and talk. And he comes out. I don't think he really hit it out of the park on this one. He was just his standard stuff. And then I was a little disappointed in the Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. They got, I think they were the ones who eliminated Rusev, and then they just kind of tossed each other out. It was okay, I guess. I guess it's not that bad. But then the Hurricane, I marked out for the Hurricane, and he comes in there and he does his, I believe it was the 2002 Royal Rumble when he did like the double, he was going for like a double chokeslam on Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then they eventually just like, what is this guy for real? And they just throw him out of the ring. So he kind of did that to John Cena here. That was fun. I like seeing Rey Mysterio. He was moving pretty damn good in that ring, I thought. What else is going on in this match? The end, the last Oh, Dolph Ziggler! I have to lament my boy Dolph Ziggler. He has this story where he walks out on the company or whatever, or the U.S. title anyway, 6 weeks ago or so, and I'm trying to like hype people up, like, oh, Dolph Ziggler's he might actually win the Royal Rumble. He's like the best heel on SmackDown that makes the most sense because Zayn and Owens are tied up and all this stuff. And when he comes out number 30, I was like, oh crap, they might actually do this. And then he got eliminated in like 2 minutes. So I was like, ooh, that's right, it's Dolph Ziggler. Sorry. So yeah, I thought he looked really bad in that sense. Because normally when you do like a walkout storyline, you should have something better to come back to than just getting eliminated in 2 minutes. So not so good for Dolph. But the ending of the match, when they had the final 6 guys or whatever it was, and Orton, Balor, Nakamura, Cena, Reigns, and Mysterio, was awesome. That it was like another match added onto the match, and it was great. And everything with Nakamura, Cena, and Reigns and Balor at the end it was pretty thrilling stuff. And I didn't know who was going to win. I mean, coming into it, the rumors were, Reigns, Cena, or Nakamura seemed to be they were the favorites, and they were the 3 guys left at the end. And I'm just trained to think Vince is not going to give it to a guy who struggles with promos in English. So even I was still thinking it's going to be Reigns or Cena, and so they got me into it. And seeing Nakamura overcome both of them to win was awesome. It was a great finish to that match.
Coolness. Okay, so Haruki, what were your thoughts on this match?
So I think that the Rumble gets a lot of flack from a lot of people, me definitely included, over the past few years. I think every year there's like a lot of stuff that I feel like could have been done better. And so with that being said, I think that this was as close to like a perfect Rumble as you could get. I thought that everything about this was awesome. The way it was laid out, the high spots that they did, the way that they let a lot of people shine in it, the immensely satisfying finish with awesome eliminations at the end. Everything about this, I think, was just absolutely brilliantly done. One of the big gripes that I've had about past year's Rumble is that the beginning doesn't really matter. And like, even if you have surprises that come in, they both just do their signature spots and then they're just sitting there. But here you actually had like things all, fitting together well, with like Slater coming out, Corbin getting eliminated, him being able to showcase his, frustration and lay everybody out. And then you have all the spots of Heath Slater and like everybody coming down and just beating on him. And then that culminates in him eliminating Sheamus, and all this stuff is happening within like the first 10 entrants. Then you have the New Day spot and everything, and they just packed so much into this hour-long match. And I think it's kind of interesting that you've had past years Rumbles go so badly with just one, and then they managed to get 2 really well right in 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to the finish, it was really, really, I think, well done. I love the kind of the new generation between old generation face off, and then again, I was in the same boat as Kane, where when I saw Cena and Reigns and Nakamura in there at the end, I'm like, just it's academic. Just put Reigns in that main event spot. But then they actually let Nakamura win, giving us like the most satisfying finish, satisfying winner in years. The one kind of smart favorite that's able to win the Rumble. Everything about this was awesome. I loved the entirety of the 65-minute match, and couldn't have asked for anything more.
Mm-hmm. So. Oh, he's doing a running. Kyle's in.
About time. The camera works.
And what's the Jericho picture?
Wait, what's the picture? What's the picture of?
It's Jericho.
Yes, all that work. I missed the pre-show matches for that. So I'm here.
Okay, so Kyle, whenever somebody gets into the hangout, we let them do a segment where they cover all of the matches prior to the one we're at. We're at number 6 right now, which is the Men's Royal Rumble, but we'll let you do a recap of the previous 5 matches.
You want me to go over all the matches that happened prior?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So let me see if I remember. They started with the Lucha match, right? Or the Cruiser match.
Yep.
It was cruisery. It was cruisery. That's all I'm getting for that one, because I don't really remember much of that one.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Dash and Dawson versus Gallows and Anderson.
I will say I was surprised that the Revival went over. I'm not upset the Revival went over there, but I thought they were kind of after you get beat up by DX at Raw 25. I thought it was going to be more of that, especially because I thought when they paired Finn with the Club or Anderson Gallows or whatever they're called, I thought they were going to win more since they were with Finn, and then they lost. So it was surprising but it was kind of whatever. I didn't really care either way. It was a fine match, but I don't really remember it.
Then we had Rude versus Raleigh for the U.S. title.
It was what it was. I like Mojo now. I like the new Mojo Raleigh. I like him as a heel. I dig Bobby Roode in this role, but it was a rehash of a match we got like a couple weeks ago. And again, it was nothing to write home about.
Okay, then we had Styles versus Kevin Owens and Zayn for the handicap match for the WWE Championship.
I enjoyed that more than I thought I was going to, just because it's a 2-on-1 handicap match, and that's in itself handicapped story-wise, because why should one guy go over two guys? That should almost never happen. But the tag format, they did it by the tag format. They played up Owens' injury, so they gave Styles a legit reason to win without making the other guys look like tools. And they had that like finish with the tag, no tag. So even though two guys lost to one guy, which was the right decision, they shouldn't have taken the title off Styles. They did it in a way that Sammy and Kevin don't look like complete losers because of it.
Then we had the most weirdly paced 2 out of 3 falls match ever in the Usos versus Chad Gabe and Shelton Benjamin for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
I thought that was good. I enjoyed that match. And I like when these 2 out of 3 fall matches, the first fall takes a while, because that's the most realistic thing that'll happen. In most of these matches, like the first fall will happen in 5 minutes in a way that would never happen in a real one-on-one match. So when they go like 15 minutes, that's the length of a regular match, and then a team wins. And then the next match or the next fall is going to be quicker because now they've wrestled for 20 minutes. So I liked it. I like that the Usos retained, but I wouldn't have minded a change there. It was fine.
Then we finally reached the Men's Royal Rumble.
All right. Would you guys finish that? Or are you guys still rotating through that?
I think we just finished with Haruki. You're up next.
I'm up next, or he's up next?
You're up next.
All right. After this, I'll be in. Really liked it. Great Royal Rumble. I think there's a couple things this Rumble had going for it that maybe a few years past didn't. I think one is there's no real wasted time. Everything they did seemed to fit somewhere, whether it be a comedy spot or a spot to tell a little story or a Kofi Kingston spot. I didn't watch this Rumble. I rewatched it last night. I didn't sit through this Rumble and like in the middle being like, all right, we're at a lull. I never felt we were at a lull. So that was a benefit. I think they did the surprises perfectly. Because in the past, I remember they bring out a legend who can't work. Like, oh, here's Sergeant Slaughter 20 years later. I don't want to see that because he can't really work. But they had one spot with the Hurricane who was in for like a minute, and it was funny, and it didn't take time. He didn't need to work, although he did work in Impact like a year or two ago, and he's not that bad, so that was fine. Couple NXT guys who got, especially Almas. I'm glad Almas got to show off after his NXT match in the night before in Philly. Good finish. I mean, I liked Shinsuke going over, but I liked how they got there too. They told a lot of stories with, here are the old guard, here's the new guard, now they're going to fight. And then they told the story, well, like, all right, well, now we've done that. Here's this established guard of Cena and Reigns, and here's this new guy, the new guys, Finn and Shinsuke. And then I just felt it was all really well done, especially at the end where like, well, maybe Roman can win. Roman, of course, was a very obvious choice to win, although a lot of people didn't think he would. So putting him in that last moment still puts suspense instead of putting someone you know is probably not going to win. So I've rambled enough because I did, I think, 6 matches. I like that match a lot, though. It's one of the better Royal Rumbles in probably the last decade. So,
well, basically, here's my theory about the Men's Royal Rumble, and when we get to the Women's Royal Rumble, we'll get to that theory as well. The city of Philadelphia went up to Vince and said, hey, Vince, buddy, pal, you mind not doing a finish this year where, one of your guys that's not really over with the crowd wins a Royal Rumble match? Guys and gals that over, that, they don't win a Royal Rumble match. Yeah. So don't put Rousey in the Rumble, and don't have Roman going over, because we only have room in the budget this year for one riot this year since the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Okay, capiche? That's how I think it went. The city councilman just went over to Vince, put his shoulder around him, and just basically said, you're not doing this because we don't have enough money for 2 riots. Because the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and sorry to say, Kyle, your Rams didn't get in.
I'm well aware my team's not in. Thank you very much.
I mean, hey, look, the great thing is that at least you only lost to the Falcons. And it's the Falcons. They're going to lose next year. So your team most likely.
This is the last thing I'm saying because this isn't a football pod. But the Rams weren't supposed to be in the playoffs anyway, and then they win the division, and go to the playoffs. So I'm happy as long as they don't that wasn't it. If next year they come back and then they suck from here on out, then I'll be more retroactively upset than if they do what they should and improve.
I mean, here's the positive thing, and I know Sean's going to be watching this broadcast later. At least your team isn't the Steelers.
I can get behind that.
Because, honestly, both my team and his team lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, the Jaguars have set themselves up so well for the future. I mean, that's not a team that you should be sad that you're losing to. I mean, that front seven especially is just ferocious, and they've just built that team up really well through the draft. So, smartly built.
Well, Sean and the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base are busy sacrificing their offensive coordinator at this point, so... And another great thing about this Men's Royal Rumble, when getting back onto that point, Kane, this was only in for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not a big Miz fan, and so I certainly I would have liked for him to last even a shorter amount of time, even. But one thing I forgot to say before, and I was talking about the Rumble that I thought was interesting, is I was wondering in terms of surprise entrance. What ECW guy was gonna get added to it because it was a Philadelphia Rumble. I figured they're gonna call up Rob Van Dam or Tommy Dreamer or someone, and I guess Rhino was the guy basically. Even though he's on the roster, he's not like a surprise. But so he comes out number 3, and it's clear that he doesn't move and then he stares at the crowd because he's appealing to them for the ECW chants, and it seemed to me awkward. It seemed to take a while for those chants to start going. I was like, oh, poor Rhino. But sorry, I diverted from Miz, but that's how much I like talking about the Miz. I just quickly divert to someone else. So those are my thoughts on the Miz.
Well, technically, Rey Mysterio is an ECW surprise entrance.
True. Yes.
I was happy that Mysterio. And I didn't mention this, but I was thinking about this last night. I was happy he was a surprise entrant, and I'm happy he got over. Because if you remember, the last time he had a Royal Rumble in Philadelphia, and I don't know if anyone mentioned this before I got on, he got booed out of the building because he was number 30. He wasn't Daniel Bryan. And in retrospect, that was completely unfair to Rey Mysterio because that's not his fault. So I'm glad he came out in Philly, in the same town, and the crowd popped huge for him. And he had a great run. And I hope he sticks around for a match. One match. Give me one match in the WWE, maybe with Finn Balor, because he eliminated him.
Well, I mean, all those Aztec sacrifices he made at the Lucha Underground Temple for new knees apparently seem to be working.
He's still in prison there, by the way. That's how they ended that season. Technically still in prison in the temple.
Okay, then. Well, he's going to make do with the best. I mean, since in Lucha Underground's canon, basically killing is permissible. I'm going to get myself some new knees. So after this, we had the Raw. Oh, I'll get my thoughts on the Rumble here. I love this Royal Rumble. I always love Royal Rumbles. The Royal Rumble is one of my favorite pay-per-views, and this is actually the first time I get to cover this pay-per-view. I'm so happy about it. But Nakamura was the best winner that they could have come up with in this situation. And I was surprised. I was like, they went with Nakamura? Wow. They actually did something for once. Because I thought it was going to be either Baylor, Cena, Reigns. Maybe they'll throw it to some other person. But it ended up being a situation of the Final Four being those bunch of people. Baylor lasted about 57 minutes. Cena lasted only 29, and Roman got eliminated. As I said before, I think the city of Philly said to them that they only have room in the budget for one riot. So, and then we had the 2 NXT call-ups. Andrade Cien Almas, who broke the hearts of Philadelphia by denying Johnny Gargano a win against him at TakeOver. And I was pleased. And Adam Cole, who survived the match against Aleister Black. This is a very, very fun Rumble. This was really solid. The Miz only got 5 minutes in. And it started off with Baylor and Rusev, which was a perfect way to start things off. Had a lot of comedy spots, the traditional Kofi Kingston avoids elimination spot. And a lot of variety for what you're getting. It was an enjoyable Rumble. And I thought it was really fun. Also, Ty Dillinger got mauled to death by Sami Zayn, and Sami took his 10th spot. That's how forgettable Ty Dillinger was. We completely forgot to talk about him until this point in the show. So, after this, we had the Raw Tag Team Championship match, and apparently Seth Rollins must have offended some form of wrestling gods because he and Jason Jordan lost the match against Cesaro and Sheamus for the Tag Team Championships. So, Kane, we'll have you start us off on this one. What did you think of this match?
I think Cesaro and Sheamus are climbing on that list of like most. They have a lot of championship reigns by now, you know, and they who knows how many more there will be by the time they finish their tag run. This match was, I mean, it's in a tough spot. It's following this great, amazing Royal Rumble, and Seth Rollins is basically wrestling a 1-on-2 handicap match, and the crowd was absolutely silent and dead for this match. And I don't know that it was the wrestler's fault. I think it was just this match was in that spot where the crowd was going to be dead, and it was the Jason Jordan injury in the match. Just kind of, I don't know. The match went way too long, I guess is what I'm trying to get to here. For what they were trying to do here, I think they should have just made it shorter. Have Jordan get hurt early, and just have Cesaro and Sheamus, beat Rollins quicker than dragging it out for like 13 minutes or whatever it was. So this was probably the worst match on the main. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have one more coming up next.
Oh, yes.
That I might put lower than this one. But this one was not an exciting match. I thought this was kind of and yeah, I wasn't too into this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, coolness. Haruki, what were your thoughts on this match?
I actually kind of liked it, and I tell you why is because the finish that they did wasn't gonna get, a good reaction anywhere they put it on the card. So I actually think it was kind of smart that they put it in the cooldown spot right after the Rumble. Because that way, the muted reaction, kind of even fits a little bit better into it. And I think it tells a good story, right? That Jordan is still kind of like this overprivileged brat, and as soon as something kind of bad happens to him, he wusses out, right? And he kind of left Seth Rollins out to dry. And I think unfortunately, Jordan's actually hurt, so they can't, move forward with that. But I do actually kind of like how it was oriented, intentional or not, in terms of slotting it right after the Hot Rumble and having a finish that wouldn't have gotten a good reaction no matter where it was placed on the card.
Mm-hmm. Coolness. AA, what were your thoughts on this match?
This was a match that I could really take or leave. It was a match, it was there as it is. It was in a bad place. It really was. If they wanted more of a nice hype to it, they should have not put it down as a cool-down match from the Men's Royal Rumble. I just didn't care for it at all. Mm-hmm. And I do like Seth Rollins, but it was pretty much a handicap match on him, but it just, I can't seem to get the word out. It just didn't appeal to me.
Mm-hmm.
I could take or leave that match either way.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have Seth Rollins, who's dressed like a mid-90s WCW jobber. And you have Jason Jordan, who is there, being the wonderful parasite that he is to the Shield at this point. And then you have Sheamus, who's dealing with a spinal stenosis injury. And you have Cesaro, who's just, trying to perform miracles at this point. And, that was, the match that happened. And Kyle, what were your thoughts on it?
So, I'll be honest, this match did not get my full attention when I was doing it. I was working on something else, but I was watching it. It was what it was. I think it needed to do what it did. It got the belts off Seth and Jason Jordan. And, I mean, it told the story that needed to be told there. It just wasn't that exciting. I don't know if Jordan, supposedly he's suffering from an injury, and I don't know if that's why they booked it that way. But even if not, it works. I've been a big fan of what they've been doing with Jason Jordan in general, because he is such a piece of crap. I mean, he does it so well that everyone hates him. Like, he goes into towns that are just normal wrestling crowds, they hate him. But towns like Philly, who appreciate heels, they hate him too, and he's so good at just being an entitled, whiny little jerk. So not doing any work in this match, whether it be the original plan to get some sympathy for Seth and get some more heat on the already unlikable Jason Jordan, great. If they had to do it because he's hurting and he can't wrestle a full match, that's also, it worked in that story they're trying to sell. It's unfortunate that I feel Sheamus and Cesaro kind of like part of another. It wasn't their story. Like they won the titles, but the story is still about who lost the titles. I felt they were kind of like an aftermath, even though they won. And hopefully, whatever feud they go into WrestleMania. And unfortunately, the Raw tag titles or tag titles in general are usually multi-man matches, so they might get lost in the fray again. But I'm hoping they'll get at least more focused than they did for this story, which was really about Seth and Jason, which is a good story, but you left the challengers out of it.
Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, who has more heat at this point with the crowd of Philadelphia? Jason Jordan or our beloved friendly neighborhood Sicilian psychopath Tommaso Ciampa?
I think Jordan has real heat because I think people don't realize they're hating Jordan for the right reason. I tweeted something out when they were in Philadelphia, or it was Raw 25, so they were in Brooklyn, I think. And I tweeted something out being like, he's such a good heel that everyone hates him, and the Cageside account retweeted it, so it actually got some play. And I had like a bunch of people in my message being like, no, he's getting booed for the wrong reasons. I'm like, no. I didn't respond to him because I just didn't feel like it. But like, no, he's getting booed for the exact reason they want you to boo him, because he thinks he's good. They book him, he's Kurt Angle's son and he's good. But he's not. You're supposed to hate that. You're supposed to hate the entitlement. You're supposed to hate his, I'm great. He's like Kurt Angle when he was Kurt Angle was a bad guy. That's just in your face good guy, but you hate that. And people don't get why they hate that, I think. I think he's doing his job perfectly. I think he's cringeworthy bad in that sense that you want boom, you want him off your screen, but it's not because he's not talented. Whereas Tommaso Ciampa, everyone loves Tommaso Ciampa. They just, in the story, it was a place to boo, which is good. Boo where you should boo, but they don't hate him like they hate Jason Jordan. That's my take on that.
Well, yeah. If they start throwing pieces of paper at the guy or screaming obscenities at him, he's probably doing his job. But, I mean, as far as Tommaso Ciampa is concerned, with Jordan, it's the sense of entitlement. Jason Jordan is becoming one of my favorite characters on Raw. Much so, because of the fact that basically this guy is an amoeba that is stuck on Rollins at this point, which is giving me absolute joy. For those of you who have watched Speaks in the past, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Seth Rollins. But in fact, the reason that I've been warming up to Seth lately is because of the fact that he's been stuck in tag matches. I don't have to witness 15-minute-long slogs with headlocks and chin locks. Yes, this includes you, Kevin Owens. And so this match was serviceable. It did its job right. It got the tag team championships. It will allow Seth and Jordan to continue their angle. And it will continue to lead to Jason Jordan proclaiming himself as the best member of the Shield, which will inevitably get him killed by the beloved Roman Reigns. If Seth doesn't do it first. Also, Seth, really? Mid-90s WCW fire pants? Did you raid Harlem Heat's closet or something? So, after that match, it is time, of course, for the match that, well, one of us in particular has been dreading. It is time for the WWE Universal Championship, aka the Beef Jerky Championship of Champions match, sponsored by Jack Link's Beef Jerky, Case Tool and Die, Jimmy John's Sub, Jacobs for Mayor 2018, and Braun Strowman's Throwing and Rec Service. Of course, this will be a match between the champion, Brock Lesnar, with his associate, Paul Heyman, the ancient 1,000-year-old immortal wizard. And following that, we have the challengers. First, a man who flips $18 million production trucks and destroys entire buildings with grappling hooks. It is, of course, Canaanite's least favorite wrestler, Braun Strowman. And also here is Kane, running for a mayoral campaign in Knoxville, Tennessee. And apparently he's doing this to add more campaign contributions. Although I'm not sure that losing wrestling matches will get you many votes in Knoxville. Maybe in Memphis. I don't know. Anyway, Kane, you're going to start us off on this match. What were your thoughts on it?
This one, okay, so like both of the top title feuds coming into this pay-per-view were kind of, I had low expectations, I'd say. Styles and Owens and Zayn definitely over, they they exceeded those expectations in their match. This match maybe met those expectations, I guess I would say. I don't know. It was this would be my pick for the worst match on the card. I think other than the shoot punch to the face and the knee to the face and all that with Brock and Strowman, there wasn't much here. And the thing that stood out to me the most is just Kane is done. Like, he is done, and he needs to go retire and stop wrestling, or I don't know, not wrestle as much. The problem is this: Vince McMahon has these old guys from the past that he loves to do things with. So like, I know it sounds mean to be like, oh, Kane needs to retire, never wrestle again. Like, what do I know, right? But it's like, if he doesn't, then Vince is always going to bring him back, and he's always going to put him in a feud like this. He did it in 2015. He had him challenging Seth Rollins for the title. He did it in 2014. He had Kane challenging Daniel Bryan for the title. It's like, if Kane is around, Vince is going to put him somewhere near the top. And Kane in this match, and really the whole feud, has just been done. And he really didn't need to be there. It should have just been a one-on-one with Lesnar and Strowman. And I don't know, the match itself, it was like a hardcore, match with weapons and all that kind of stuff, which I think it plays to Strowman's strengths. And so the match, I think it was pretty much, it was not a terrible match. It was okay. But there was, for Lesnar, this is a letdown for a Lesnar match.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thankfully, there was some destruction, and I think the German announce tables got finally destroyed for once. That was a good spot there. So, Kyle, what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, not too different from Kane. I don't like to admit that, but overall, it wasn't a good match. And I wonder. I agree. Coming into that match, I was not interested. I wasn't interested in either title match either. But there was more work rate in the first. There's just more like talent in the first one. But putting Kane in this feud just killed it for me. I like Strowman. Unlike Kane, I'm a big fan of Strowman. I think he's really improving. I think he's becoming pretty good. I enjoy watching him. I think he still needs the right dance partner. But this match just never clicked. I came into the Cageside offices while we were watching this match. I'm like, this match is bad. And Sean was like, I don't know if Braun has a legit concussion from that punch. So I don't know if he got rattled and then he never really got all the way. But there was a spot where he went through a table where that was like he just kind of like slowly fell through a table instead of like taking like a table bump that was in the corner. And I'm just like, all right, well, this is over at least. It was not good, and this is coming off like last year. It wasn't. I don't think it was a Universal title last year, but we had like Cena versus AJ last year, and then the year before we had that triple threat between Cena, Rollins, Rock. So we've had some good championship matches on the Royal Rumble. And this year, even though the handicap match was all right, we didn't really. It was just kind of all about the Rumbles, which is fine, but it sucks when both title matches are kind of lacking any fire, and then this one is kind of crapping the bed.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Cade. Kyle agreed with you on something.
We can agree that Kane needs to go away.
Basically, Vince is doing what Vern Gagne did with the AWA. You had a bunch of old wrestlers, So he's basically trying to copy from the AWA playbook.
What annoys me, sorry to cut you off, is that I really wanted to see the Demon King Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar, and as recently as October or so, it seemed like that was probably where they were going. Balor was beating AJ freaking Styles on pay-per-view, and then Kane suddenly is back in the picture, and then he's beating Balor, he's beating Rollins, he's choke slamming the hell out of Ambrose, and it was pretty clear that they were, Kane was getting the big push, and it's just like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the point? I don't know. I was pretty hyped up for the Demon King and Brock, but we got Kane instead.
I mean, in fairness, do you want to sacrifice Vinnie McBrogue to Brock?
You know what? Samoa Joe, I think, has done really well for himself since the Brock feud, even though he's been injured. But he's been a bigger deal, I think. It's not a given. Obviously, Ambrose had a bad experience with Brock. Mm-hmm. But I think it's better to be in a story with Brock than to not in general. So I would, even if Balor would have lost the match, I still think I think it would for at least for the one night, it would have been more interesting to me. And I don't think you're killing off Balor if he loses the match. I don't know. I would have been okay. I would have been okay even with Balor losing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then AA, what were your thoughts of this match?
This was another match that I could take or leave. I wasn't really wanting to see it in the first place, mainly because of Kane. If it just been Strowman and Lesnar, then I might have had more attention. But with Kane being in the feud and everything, it's just please retire, Kane. Retire. Just retire. Don't become a has-been.
I mean, if you're a wrestling fan in Tennessee and you're voting in like the Knoxville area, please vote for the guy, just so that the pain of these kind of triple threat matches don't happen. that I see is like that's the ultimate solution. I mean, like I come up with interesting solutions to complicated issues. Like if you want to get rid of Jinder Mahal, give him an extremely difficult Sudoku puzzle to face against. Kane, mayoral run. Have him win the mayor election. It's not that hard. You know, you can come up with some really simple solutions to complicated problems, like Smark's hatred for Kane because he's past his prime. Which I understand. But I don't really hate the guy. He's just doing his job. So you thought that the match was... So we've had 3 so far who didn't like the match. And so that leaves us with Haruki. What were your thoughts?
So one of the things that I'll say is that in the ingredients of a great, WWE pay-per-view, you don't have to have every match being great, but it's better if all the matches kind of abstract from one another, right? And that's why I kind of like the spectacle matches at WrestleMania when you just have like these things that maybe aren't so much good, but they kind of produce something different, like a spectacle. Like I love Goldberg Lesnar last year, 5-minute match, but just they didn't waste any second of those 5 minutes, and good. I kind of enjoyed this, honestly. I really thought that it was entertaining. I was laughing when the couple Kane spots with the table in the corner and the announce table outside kind of went awry. I was kind of laughing when you had like the Lesnar and the Strowman thing where it seems like they might have accidentally been stiffing each other, or they might have gotten to the point where they were stiffing each other. It was just big guys slamming into each other and bringing out foreign objects and running into those things, and I was entertained. On the topic of Kane, I think Kane is one of the more fascinating cases. Post-2012 Kane is one of the more fascinating cases in wrestling, and that's that if you hear any wrestler talking about working with Kane, they always sing his praises, and they always talk about how awesome it is. He was in this match to take the fall, essentially, and by the end of the match, when Strowman said, "You didn't beat me," it seems like they just want to continue that. Maybe that's the Mania match. I don't know. What did I do?
No, you didn't do anything. AA probably the AA's hounds just heard that Jason Jordan was in the Shield and just reacted as such.
Pretty much. I do apologize for that, guys.
Oh no, it's fine.
Oh, no
we once had a train whistle go off on one of the WrestleMania shows, so this is nothing compared to that. So continue, Haruki.
Oh yeah, I think Kane's one of the more interesting cases because like whenever wrestlers talk about him, they always talk about, oh, he's so he's great to work with. I never had a bad problem with the guy. He's incredibly safe in the ring, which is another thing. So from a running a promotion perspective, he's valuable in the sense that you're never going to get something bad out of him. He's a 7-foot guy that I guess little kids can say, and he's still kind of a spectacle to them. To have a 7-foot guy that's dependable, he's never going to put your guys in a bad spot. He's never going to hurt them. I guess has value, but from a viewer's perspective, he's a drag to watch, right? Like there hasn't been a match in 6-7 years that I can say from Kane where I was like, if that was an instant classic, he did something special in that. So it really is an interesting dichotomy between what you want from a person that's running a promotion between what you want as a viewer of the product.
You know what's funny to me, actually, because I used to put Big Show and Kane in the same category. But if you put Big Show in that match, I probably would have been really into it because of what he's done with Strowman this year. I don't know why Kane is maybe it's the monster gimmick, or maybe he's just he doesn't have it, and maybe Big Show still does, or I don't know what. But something about Kane, because if they had brought Big Show back somewhere either in the Rumble or put him in that match, I probably would have been into it.
Yeah, because he and Strowman had that really fantastic giant versus giant collision course match at Raw.
A couple of them.
Yeah, a couple of them. It was like basically, this was a spectacle match, which was basically like watching one of those B-movie kaiju films on Channel 26. Yes, the third string channel. The third string channel that airs all those old 1930s, 40s movies, and also occasionally the kaiju films. It was a kaiju match between 3 monsters, and Brock ended up punching things and keeping his beef jerky championship of champions. Sponsored by Jimmy John's, Case and Tools Dye, Jimmy John's Subs, Jack Link's Beef Jerky, and of course Jacobs from Air 2018. And it only lasted about 10 minutes and 55 seconds, which in the estimate of books is much better than your average Miz match. And at least we didn't have the IC Championship on the card either. Which was a welcome blessing for you at least, Kane.
Hey, no arguments for me.
So, quick tangent before we move on to our Women's Royal Rumble segment. Who would you prefer Miz face for the IC Championship at Mania? Finn Balor, or ending up in a full body cast right next to his wife who's going to be giving birth to a baby, facing Braun Strowman?
Well, if you're asking me, I'd far prefer Strowman just because I don't, you know what? So sorry, I don't want this to sound like me just constantly hating on Miz and Strowman, because I do have other thoughts on wrestling in general. But I'm not too interested in pushes for those two guys. So if they get him out of the way in the same match, that's fine with me. I can do other things in those, and it's going to be a short match. I would imagine it's going to be like something akin to a squash. So get rid of them out of the way. 5 minutes. I don't need Strowman getting the big spotlight of a Ronda Rousey match with Triple H. You could put him a little lower on the cart than Miz. That's fine. And Balor can hopefully have a better match with someone else. That all sounds good to me. So I'm all in favor of Strowman versus Miz. I hope it happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds to me like, that's the perfect solution, because Miz is probably going to be sleep deprived because his baby is due the week of WrestleMania. That's what where the due date is. Never has a number of wrestling fans been so thankful for a baby's due date to come on that day than Kane here.
What's interesting with Miz right now is Miz the top heel on Raw right now?
One of the top heels.
Because Samoa Joe's out, and like if there was going to be a one-on-one main event in a Raw pay-per-view next month that wasn't Elimination Chamber, let's say it was just a one-on-one, like Miz might be the top ranked heel on Raw right now. Who of all the healthy guys, like who is? I can't. Right. Maybe like if Kane's available, maybe Kane. Like, so Miz is in a really good spot right now, and it's not just because Samoa Joe's injured. I mean, Miz is in a good spot regardless. But Miz has done really well for himself, and he's reliable, and they like him. And I think he's going to get a pretty decent push from now through Mania. Just because he is, he has a lot of stuff going on. He's doing his reality show and all this other stuff, and like they're gonna push him. So, and they've been pushing him. Obviously, he's beat Roman Reigns, a couple times since he came back. So anyway, Miz might be the top heel on Raw right now, which sounds kind of crazy to me. Right? Elias is getting a decent push right now, it seems like, but he's not going to reach Miz level, I don't think, soon, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Elias is infinitely more likable to you, at least. So, also, Miz bought a castle. Yes, he actually bought a castle. He's defending. I'm guessing he's probably going to be defending baby Miz from the corruptive influences of the Danielsons. Which is probably why they paired him with Asuka in the Mixed Match Challenge series. It's more along the lines of Asuka is now going to be his bodyguard because... Are Miz
and Asuka going to meet up with Strowman and Bliss before the finals, right? That's going to happen, I think. I forget the bracket. I think they're probably going to meet each other, assuming they keep winning, before the finals. So that'll be interesting if that's going to be used to set up maybe the Strowman Miz thing, if that's where they go, or if it's just going to be a throwaway thing. But because those are both killer teams right there, Strowman and Bliss and Miz and Asuka. So
yeah, which is funny because like for years I was talking about like Team Pixie Strong on Cageside. They made Team Pixie Strong canon. That is just so awesome. And now moving on to the Women's Royal Rumble match. This main evented the show, which was awesome. And also, once again, the right person won. Because again, Philly only has room in the budget for one Riot this time. So, this match was won by Asuka, who last eliminated a returning Nikki Bella in a strong style clash to end this match. So, Kyle, you want to start us off?
Sure. Overall, it was a good match. I liked the Rumble. I liked the finish. I think it was, I don't want to say unfortunate, because I don't want to ever say a good Rumble is fortunate, but it was unfortunate the men's Rumble was like booked perfectly, and they were never going to be able to do that with the women, given certain restrictions. Those restrictions mainly being the number of active talent they had in the match. So they had to put, I don't remember how many legends came back, but, and Kane, do you remember?
Oh, let's see, 1 second here.
If not, Kane's got numbers always.
I believe 5 legends returned, correct, Kane?
I don't actually
More
know,
than that.
so we'll go. No, it had to be more. There was Trish. Do you count the Bellas as legends? Probably not. There was Trish, Beth Phoenix, Jacqueline, Kelly, Vicky Guerrero, Michelle McCool, Molly Holly,
Yeah, at least
and Tori Wilson,
Yeah.
and Lita.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
Yeah, at least 9. So you had at least 9 people who weren't active wrestlers, and that's a lot to ask. Granted, I don't disagree with putting them in. I agree 100%. They need to be in that match because they deserve to be in that match. But obviously they're not active wrestlers, so they're not, even if they trained for a couple months or 6 months or what have you prior, they're just not going to be like if you had 30 women or 25 women from either NXT in the roster. So that was one thing that was working against it, though the crowd popped for all those women, rightfully so. I wish they wouldn't chant like Undertaker at Michelle McCool because, come on, get over yourselves. That one kind of pissed me off because of all the things that's never been canon. Like John Cena is Nikki Bella's fiance in canon, and Brian is Brie's husband in canon, and I still didn't love that. But chanting Undertaker at McCool rubbed me the wrong way. But that's Philly, and you're gonna get stuff like that. You're gonna get stuff like that from the crowd for a little bit, and I don't think they meant it maliciously. But that's just a side rant. Mm-hmm. And I thought McCool looked great. I thought she of the legends, her and number 30 Trish Stratus, I thought looked best of all the returning legends. Some of them just didn't get a lot of time, but Molly Holly did that bit off the rope. I don't remember what it was called, but it was freaking awesome.
Molly go round.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And so the first half of it, they kind of suffered from that. But that's okay. It still wasn't bad. They still had their spots. I do think too much time was spent outside the ring for people who are active. You set the one spot for Naomi. Yeah, get people out of the ring for that. But otherwise, lie in the corner and throw some hands. But I think that's just people. None of these women have ever worked a Royal Rumble match before because there's never been a women's Royal Rumble match before. Where the men's, you're going to have like 15, 20 guys who have been in that ring before and kind of take the cue off the others. The others can take the cue off the veterans of that. So this was a first-time Rumble with a lot of people inactive, and that kind of took away, but it was still a really good match. The second half, they really started building those moments. I popped for Mickey and Trish. I thought bringing both Bellas back was excellent, and I'm happy that Philly popped for them because they deserve it. I think like 5 years ago they were getting booed for that, but I think both of them deserve a good spot. I was fine putting them as the bully twin team at the end. I thought Sasha was awesome in this match. Outside, taking a little too much time outside, but whatever. That's a nitpick. I think she really starts to show her heel persona, or at least starting to tap into that boss. And you saw that on Monday with that incredible match with Asuka. And again, as Fizzy said, the right person won. The finish to the final 4 worked. A lot of good moments with the legends, even taking into account that they aren't current workers. So all in all, it was a good match. I think it was kind of unfortunately overshadowed when someone asked what's the match of the night, and I looked at the comments of the Cageside poll, and everyone was like, the women's match was good, but unfortunately that men's match was just booked really well this year. And that's not a knock against the women. I just think that just match had more booking and more to play with. But overall, I enjoyed it. I was happy it main evented, and I'm looking forward to this yearly.
Mm-hmm. Coolness. Haruki, what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, so I think when I checked the Wikipedia page for Fortnite, I think it was like 14 competitors out of the 30 didn't come from either the Raw or SmackDown brand. Either they were free agents or legends, Hall of Famers, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it was a big field. So in my opinion, just the overall take on this was that it was a great building block for future years. For me, this was like the first match where I can really say it was kind of like the nostalgia trip per se, because all of the women wrestlers that I got to see growing up, came back. And what I think was awesome is that they were all of them were in fantastic shape, almost every single one, even the ones that were not heralded as great workers. When they were active competitors, so like Tori Wilson, Brie Bella, I thought they all looked great in the ring. And so I think that was one thing that was really cool, is to see that, these old active competitors. Jacqueline's like 54 years old, fantastic in the ring. Molly Holly still thinking of pull off that Molly Ground, fantastic. I thought that the comedy spot with Vicky Guerrero was fantastic. I think that all in all was just some fantastic. The match itself was a fantastic homage to the successes that the women's division have had over the past 15 years. And I'm really glad they got to be part of, kind of making history, and to see the interactions with the current generation as well, was great. I think like was pointed out, the role that Sasha Banks played, and she got massive heat for me from eliminating Trish Stratus, and just the way it all played out. The one thing I will say though is that I was actually pretty darn sure that Asuka wouldn't win because I feel like they just telegraphed it too hard, like with her standing tall in like the end of that mini Rumble scenario that they did the Monday before. I thought that she wouldn't, but they did pull the trigger at her, which I think was the right choice. And I actually really liked Rousey coming out afterwards too. All in all, I think that it was a great end to the pay-per-view. I was happy to see a lot of people get the spotlight, and it was a solid match.
Mm-hmm. Okay, AA, what were your thoughts on this match?
I think for an inaugural match and everything, it was great. They still have a lot of kinks they have to work out with the women. The women are going to have to start. You need the experience. You can tell the difference between the Men's Royal Rumble match, as it was pointed out earlier. The experience helped. And so I think as each year, as it goes on and continues, it's going to get better and better. Because we all know that the women put in so much effort and to making their matches great, that once the experience gets built up and it gets more settled in, it'll outshine the men. I'll give it a couple years and the men are going to be in dire straits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a really cool match. So Kane, did you get your thoughts on this women's Royal match, or haven't gotten to you yet? Right?
No, I'm up right now. I agree with a lot of what's been said already. It was really fun. I think the nostalgia worked really well, and I think it was smart to go that route rather than a lot more NXT stars. And the NXT stars they used did well too. Like Kairi Sane was out there whooping all kinds of ass, doing her elbow drops and everything. And I was like, oh no, when Dana Brooke eliminated her, and so she made a good impression. And Molly Holly was awesome, and it was funny because Hurricane was one of the surprise entrants in the men's match. And when I saw Molly, I was like, oh, I wonder, because I remember she was with Hurricane as like Mighty Molly at some point for a while, but not that she should be coming out to the Rumble as Mighty Molly, but I just brought back that memory for me as well. So yeah, the nostalgia was high. It worked well. I agree with what was said already. Everyone looked pretty good in there. Like the Bellas were looking like they haven't missed a step. Like everyone was looking like they've been wrestling as recent, this whole time. Like there wasn't too much rust going on. And so I maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but for the most part, I think the work in the ring looked pretty good. Beth Phoenix, she got a small feature spot when Natalya betrayed her. I was a little disappointed. I was hoping, I should be happy because I'm a really big fan of Beth, and I should have been happy, that maybe she got a one-on-one moment there, but I wanted her to last a little longer. And she's the one who eliminated the Great Khali in 2010. So I was hoping maybe she could do something with Nia Jax, but I mean, obviously you don't want to feed Nia Jax there. I guess it doesn't make sense. But I'm a mark for Beth Phoenix. So anyway, so seeing her out there was cool. And Kelly, she still is running the ropes like she used to.
The greatest love story ever, as Reverend Kane once put it.
Bailey's kind of lost in the shuffle. She came in towards the very end, maybe right before Trish. They started the match with Sasha and Becky, which I think was the right call because those two are kind of they're two of the most prominent names in the division, and so I think it's cool to start the match with them and have them go. Becky lasted maybe half the match and Sasha lasted almost the whole match, and at the end with Sasha and the Bellas and Asuka was cool. And me, like Hiroki was saying, I didn't think Asuka was going to win either coming into the match because to me, Asuka was kind of given that Big Show segment on Raw where she just eliminates everyone out of the ring on the last Raw before the pay-per-view, and I figure, oh wow, like that's too obvious, like they're not going to have her win the Rumble. So when it got to the end and the Bellas are in there, and Sasha was still in there at the time, and I forget if Trish was in there yet or not, but whatever it was, I was thinking to myself like Trish has a chance and Nikki has a chance. I'm trying to think who's going to get the one-on-one match at WrestleMania, and I'm like, I know like it's Asuka's undefeated and everything, but I just didn't think they were going to go the obvious route. So I was thinking like maybe Trish is going to come back and do something at WrestleMania, maybe, and Nikki, I figure who, I don't know. I was definitely, they sucked me into the story is basically what I'm trying to say. And so I was still, it was cool for Asuka, to overcome the two Bellas at the end. And I think it was smart to leave Rousey out of it. And maybe they couldn't even maybe Rousey, she's doing movies and stuff right now. Maybe she couldn't get physical. I don't know. But Rousey was a little weird. I feel like she should have been like killer Ronda Rousey. And not that, once again, maybe she couldn't get physical. But I don't know that she should have been so happy to shake everyone's hand. Maybe been more serious. I don't know. There was too much WrestleMania sign pointing, I guess. Is anyway. I'm rambling on too long. This was a really fun match. I really liked it.
Yeah, good. You're good, man. This was a fun match. I love the opening segment where the first legend to show up was Lita, and Sasha and Becky just have this little smile on their face, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's one of our heroes, one of our idols. Welcome to hell." It's just like this so happy, cheery thing, and then they start beating the bejesus out of Lita. You knew it was like, okay, this is gonna be really interesting. I love the return for Nikki Bella. That was for me personally. It was one of my favorite returns of the whole lot. Which was, again, Nikki Bella Hammer is just so awesome. She was one of the people that revived Strong Style into the women's division. Sasha Banks continued to go on a really good run. She had Wonder Woman inspired gear on. And made it her own. So basically, she had the superhero gimmick. So that's why Molly Holly didn't dress up as Mighty Molly this time. Otherwise, Molly Holly would have been a supervillain if she had eliminated Sasha. The final four was perfect. The Bella twins, they did their Total Bella's reality stuff, and Nikki Bella was the last person eliminated by Asuka. Felt like the match was really well paced. It was, for a first women's Royal Rumble, this was a really great Royal Rumble match for them. It could be a really great overall women's Royal Rumble match. This was the first one, but overall, if we are comparing both the men's side and women's side, this Royal Rumble here for the women would be in the top 10. And this is just their first outing with this. Trish Stratus returning at the end at number 30 was awesome. Bayley getting eliminated by Sasha Banks might turn into an angle a little later on, for Bayley turning heel, we hope. And I liked the order of legends and current wrestlers interacting with one another, and it was just an overall really, really fun Rumble, which then leads us to, of course, we've mentioned this a little bit during the show. You might notice the title, Faustian Bargains. When I was doing a review of the Mae Young Classic, I said that there was going to be Faustian Bargain. Yes, you may have gotten Kairi Sane as your eventual winner, but that there was going to be a little hitch in the paperwork, a little fine print in the details. That fine print in the details was the debut of Ronda Rousey at the Royal Rumble. Shayna Baszler apparently is not the only MMA person that's getting involved. And Rousey debuted at the Rumble at the championship crowning ceremony and shook Asuka's hand. Why Asuka didn't rip her hand off, I have absolutely no idea. So, we're going to talk about this a little bit in a segue, and then we'll close our thoughts. So, Kyle, what did you think about the Rousey segment?
So, I'm not gonna say I liked it just because I think it was kind of like the performance was a little off. I didn't dislike it. I don't have any problem bringing her in. I get that completely. One thing is it's not like bringing in someone who's after a paycheck. She's been a known wrestling fan for a long time, which is probably why she came out as Smiling Ronda. And I agree with Kane. I would have liked a little more badassery. But so I don't mind her being there. I think she'll put in the work, and I think she'll do her best to improve. I also the segment itself, I don't know how it could be hard to point at. Maybe if you asked me to point at a sign, I'd look really awkward doing it. But she looked really stiff pointing at a sign. I'm like, that's just weird looking. It's taken away from. It's pulling me out of the segment. She's pointing at this sign like she's rehearsed it so stiffly. And then now she's probably not going to be there for a bit. I think we'll see her before WrestleMania. I think that she's going to have to show up to set up her match, and I don't think she's going to wrestle until WrestleMania, and that's fine. I don't think it took away from the Women's Rumble. I've seen that argument, and I'm okay with it. I understand it. But I think a good pay-per-view often here's your big moment, and now let's set up the next moment. And obviously that's the next moment. It's a big deal. It's a good closing segment. It's the time to get your press on it because you want the mainstream media talking about your pay-per-view match. So what they did, putting her there, that's fine. I just thought the segment itself came off as a bit awkward, mainly because Ronda Rousey's not a professional wrestler. And it's going to take time to learn things. And I think she'll put that time in.
Hey, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is it took a little bit away from Asuka. Because then because they did have her show up, I believe, the following Monday night. So even a Monday, even a Raw after a pay-per-view would have been fine. And it's like I said, she did look stiff out there. She wasn't comfortable in that situation yet. And it's going to take her a while, but it does kind of tarnish the moment. Because you were really hyped. I was ecstatic that Asuka won. Really big on it. And then this came out and it just kind of diminished the whole ending for me. So I think it was badly timed. It really was. They should have brought her out on the Raw after the pay-per-view, where she could be a little more not so stiff, because it's a little bit. I can't get out what I'm trying to say, if that makes sense.
Basically, a little bit more comfortable in where she was at that point. Not on the biggest stage, on the biggest pay-per-view, but instead on a Raw.
Right, and which is a little more intimate than a pay-per-view. Because I've been to Raws and I've been to pay-per-view events, and the Raw events are a little bit more lax and relaxed than a pay-per-view.
Because with a pay-per-view, it's always a situation of, oh, is my fave going to win? Is my fave going to get the proper booking? Are we going to continue forward? It's always that sort of panic in the various different fan bases, where on a Raw, it's a little bit more relaxed. It's like, it's a Raw. Stay here for 3 hours, see what they do. And only,
exactly.
And only in very specific situations are they panicking on a Raw. About somebody's booking. Like, for instance, when Kane pinned Balor in the main event of a Raw. So, yeah, that's a very good point. Haruki, what were your thoughts on this segment?
So I echo some of the same sentiments. I think the one thing is, just from the human being perspective, it was pretty cool to see her out there and, just kind of like enjoying the moment and really taking it in. What was said was true. She was probably in a pretty bad spot after her loss to Holm and then her loss to Nunes. So post those things, it was kind of just good from a human being perspective to see someone just really kind of enjoying what they were doing out there and kind of being a part of something that they really enjoyed after being in kind of a bad spot. Aside from that, from a wrestling perspective, I'm pretty excited, honestly. I thought the moment was just fine. I was excited. I was the fan inside me was going crazy. I think bringing in like a star as big as her will only help to kind of elevate the division if it's done just right. And like was saying, if we hold off until WrestleMania, I think that she'll be a buy and she'll help draw eyeballs to the product. So all in all, I think it's exciting. I thought the moment was pretty cool.
Okay, Kane, what were your thoughts on the Rousey segment?
One thing I wanted to add, I agree with a lot of what's been said, but I wanted to add that I think the commentary kind of dropped the ball here too, and I think it hurt this. And when I go back and listen to some old Jim Ross clips, and sorry, there's going to be a Michael Cole nitpick, I guess, but Jim Ross, like the Tyson stuff, or Jim Ross, just in general, Jim Ross like exudes all this kind of passion and frenzy. And Michael Cole, when Rousey came out, Michael Cole, and maybe it was a little awkward because like her music started playing first, and I guess he has to say something before she comes out. But he said I think he said, "Oh my God," but he said it in a way that just it seemed so stiff or just so like not authentic. And then Stephanie was like, "I'm speechless, Cole," and I don't know. It was just like, come on, like this is. Make me more excited about this, people. Come on. I thought commentary, didn't do it justice.
Well, honestly, I could kind of agree with Cole's assessment there, because here's the thing. WWE and, by extension, Ronda Rousey are both taking a pretty big risk at this point, because the MMA people are not really happy at this point that Rousey is getting into the professional wrestling business. Because MMA is all about legitimacy, from what I can briefly understand about it. Because, side note, folks, I'm not the biggest fan of MMA. I'm a fan of pro wrestling, but MMA is just something that's kind of alien to me, much like soccer is. So, from my perspective, it's a situation where they're not very happy about this situation. The fans of women's professional wrestling are not very happy about this situation because of some things that Ronda has said in media public, as well as the issues with, the issues with domestic violence that she has had. It's a lot of risk, but I feel as though that the WWE PR team at this point is understanding of those risks. I think they signed her to maybe a 2-year deal at this point. They're going to take their time with Ronda. Ronda's going to take their time with them. I think she probably debuts this year at SummerSlam instead of at WrestleMania. I know they want to build a big wrestling match, but they always seem to build the former MMA stars at SummerSlam for whatever reason.
I don't know if she wasn't pointing at a SummerSlam sign.
I know, but I think she's probably going to do a WrestleMania segment this year. And then she'll actually do a match, a full one-on-one match at SummerSlam.
She should unveil a SummerSlam sign at WrestleMania somewhere and then point at the SummerSlam sign. That'll be her gimmick. So she gets better in the ring, she just points at signs.
No, I like it. I like it better, but with a B pay-per-view. So out of nowhere, you just see a battleground sign in the background. She just points to the wall. That's my show. It's bad.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, this is a humongous gamble for both WWE and for Ronda Rousey, because for WWE, right now at this point, they are beginning their TV rights renegotiations with USA Network, and they might also be bringing Fox Network in because Fox Network is also doing renegotiations with UFC. So it's kind of this sort of situation where you have 4 parties that are all sitting in a room together, and it's just the world's most awkward dinner. They're all just looking down at their food and just quietly cutting up things with a steak knife. And they're like, when's the first person going to wink? When is the first person going to throw wine at somebody else? So at this point, it's an awkward situation for WWE. But for Rousey, in this situation, she's going from a legitimate sport in MMA to a scripted sport in pro wrestling. That's kind of not sitting over, like I said, it's not sitting over well with some of the MMA guys. But for other people who will have a losing record in MMA at this point and their value is plummeting, going over to WWE may not necessarily be a bad call. It's certainly, at this point, considerably healthier for them, because we don't know what's going to be happening with professional martial arts sports over the next few years, with all the issues with concussions and CTE and all that sorts of things. Although wrestling is also dealing with those same kind of issues, but because of the fact that it's a scripted nature of the program, might be able to survive a little bit better than, say, football or mixed martial arts. Do you think that's a fair assessment? I would say Haruki.
Wait, what? Sorry.
Do you think it's a fair assessment that I'm comparing that wrestling might be able to survive over this whole CTE concussions thing instead of like mixed martial arts or football, which are going to go through the ringer?
I think it's a fair assessment.
So I don't know a whole lot about the topic when it comes to like martial arts stuff like that. The only thing I listen to little tidbits about it. I'm not extremely well versed in terms of mixed martial arts, but I know that Dana White likes to run the regulation and stuff like that. So whatever he wants to go to make it more regulated, he'll go to. In terms of somebody like Rousey, she was only doing a couple fights a year anyway. And in WWE, her schedule isn't going to be very strenuous. For someone like her, it'll probably be very advantageous health-wise to go to a situation like this. But for other like workmen, like the Ironmen of WWE, maybe not even so much. Like I feel like even those guys are taking a tremendous toll on their body, and you can see with the injuries piling up right now that it's definitely not easy. On these guys who are working regular schedule. And the WWE schedule is very strenuous too. They're constantly on the road and working crooked hours, having to do multiple shows a week. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I know enough topic to.
I think that's a fair assessment from you there, Kuruki. So let me get Kyle back in here. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a fair assessment?
I'm probably in Haruki's camp, where I don't really know much about mixed martial arts fighting to really weigh in. I agree that their schedule is pretty hellacious, though. Especially they do these European tours, and they're traveling all the time, not just working in the ring, but they're like adding the travel on top of it, so their body doesn't get a chance to recover. Ronda's not going to have to deal with that, so she might be better because she's not only going to be taking work punches instead of real punches. But if you have someone come in who's going to be working a little more of a real schedule, I don't know if it's going to be that much more advantageous.
Mm-hmm. But like I said, this is basically the biggest Faustian bargain of Faustian bargains. You know, we knew when we were getting the Mae Young Classic that what's in the fine print here. And that's the same thing for the Men's Royal Rumble, because Shinsuke won the Rumble and is challenging AJ for the WWE Championship. But that also frees up Roman Reigns possibly facing Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. And he's probably not going to get the best reaction at Mania, considering that he took a bazooka to Undertaker last year. But we have that to look forward to in the next few months. But let's get our final thoughts off here. Haruki, what are your final thoughts on the Royal Rumble?
I absolutely love this show. I think that this is one of the shows that I enjoyed the most. And I think for a Big Four pay-per-view like this, they really did it justice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with you there. AA, what were your final thoughts on the Royal Rumble?
I really enjoyed it. It's been a long time since I've enjoyed a pay-per-view, and this one really delivered. Even with a couple of the matches I said that I could have done without, I still enjoyed it. I actually stayed awake through the whole thing, which is going some. So all in all, it was a great pay-per-view. This is a pay-per-view I'm not going to mind watching again.
Okay, Kyle, what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, it was a good show. I still find it tough to pay attention for so long if you put it on the pre-show prior, and I think that goes the same for the crowd. I think the women had to work harder to get the crowd back because they were just so kind of getting burned out by that last hour, but they put on a good match to do so. So I think it was a good show. I mean, I don't like anything that's over like 3.5 hours, but it was a good Big Four pay-per-view.
Okay, Kane, what were your final thoughts on the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, I get a big thumbs up. I mean, normally on a Rumble pay-per-view, if the Rumble delivers, then the show is fine. So this one had 2 Rumbles that delivered. So it's hard, you really don't even need anything on the undercard when the Rumbles are as fun as these were. And the Rousey thing will be interesting to see going forward. I think, it's a tricky situation to navigate in 2 senses. I think one, if let's say she has the Brock schedule, I don't know, 6 matches a year or 5, whatever it's going to be. Like, she hasn't pro wrestled before, so unlike Brock, where he could just come back in and do his stuff, like we don't know what, like, she doesn't have stuff. She doesn't have like an established. She hasn't pro wrestled before, so it's hard to get good at pro wrestling when you. I think it's hard to get good at pro wrestling on the Brock Lesnar schedule if you haven't pro wrestled before. Obviously, she's going to do a lot of stuff in between when she's not wrestling to prepare, but I think it's going to be really difficult to get good, no matter how passionate she is about getting good. And then the other thing is. Managing fan reactions to her is going to be tricky, because if they give her the Superman push, like, fans fight back against that a lot now, and it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know that if the fans have backlash against her, would they be willing to turn her heel and all this kind of stuff? Obviously, we're way too early, I guess, to speculate about this stuff, but I think managing fan reaction to her could be very tricky. But that's for later. The Rumble show itself was pretty awesome. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. The Royal Rumble is one of my favorite pay-per-views of the year, and up until today, I haven't been able to cover it. We've always covered either the post-show elements, of the next pay-per-view, or we've covered, the road to WrestleMania stuff, or just from circumstances, beyond my control, I haven't been able to do a Rumble show. Today, finally able to do a new Rumble show, finally able to, I have a new microphone and headset on. It's a new day overall. Not to infringe on the New Day.
Yes, it is.
Yes, not to infringe on the New Day's gimmick or something. Otherwise, I'll be beaten to a pulp. But
you're eating pancakes right now, aren't you?
Actually, no, I'm not. I'm eating Wales baked cheese crackers and having some iced tea.
Sorry, Fizz, can I cut you off for a moment? One thing I wanted to say about the Women's Rumble, Naomi. Okay, so Naomi got the Kofi spot essentially. Do you think this is a blessing or a curse for her going forward? Like, if she is like getting the Kofi spot, is that going to be her spot every year now, or is it just for this year she was Kofi? What do you think?
I think for this year she's Kofi, but I think it will rotate every year. Somebody's going to do something differently.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this was a really fun Rumble show, and for those of you who are aggravated, irritated, or going homicidal about the commentary, and you don't want to go Sabu, there's so many audio tracks available in different languages that you can watch the pay-per-view without having to worry about tearing your hair out or chucking something heavy at the TV. I watched this entire show with the Japanese commentary once again, which is good for my sanity and for yours. So I didn't have to listen to the Burger Fool ramble on the Royal Rumble commentary for the Men's Rumble. Or Stephanie talking about the Women's Royal Rumble. So I avoided that. So that was the Royal Rumble. This was an enjoyable show. And this is my first show back since like November of doing a Cageside Speaks. Next up on our list of shows to do is Elimination Chamber, a show that I traditionally have been mixed about. I enjoy some of the shows. I've been a little bit more neutral about others. There hasn't been an Elimination Chamber that I haven't really all that liked. Although, knocking on wood here, maybe not. We're going to have our first Women's Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, apparently, so that's awesome. And we're going to have a Men's Elimination Chamber match as well. So, until then, which will be that next show will be sometime in February, this has been 14 Fitzpatrick. And thank you so much for tuning in on this edition of the broadcast once again. You can find this on Cageside Seats, on the Cageside Seats YouTube page. And we'll see you next time for Elimination Chamber. That will be in February, and maybe we'll be doing Fastlane in March. Who knows, because it's SmackDown pay-per-view. But until then, folks, have a lovely day or night or whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you next time. Bye!